Well, for sure, I think that it could be a little, a crazy day for the paddock, especially because, let's be honest, it's Martin, a Ducati rider, taking out two Ducati riders from the same team, from the Power 46, from Valentino Rossi's team. Valentino Rossi is in Austria at the race, so you could see his face. And honestly, I was frankly quite surprised that we didn't have a sanction, especially for the Marini case, because we've then seen Fabio Quartararo doing something similar in touching and taking out, colliding with Savadori, and then he got a long lap penalty. We're surprised. Why did Fabio Quartararo get a long lap penalty? Because I was thinking, like, what did they blame him for the turn one incident? Because he was also there. But then it turned out that he touched with Savadori. Savadori crashed and he got a long lap penalty. But when similar thing happened to Martin Marini, Martin got no penalty. It was the same race, just a matter of laps. As for the turn one incident, it is really hard to judge, to be honest, because definitely it could. And I think it started with Martin braking really late. He decided to brake late to cut up with those positions, because we need to say that he was extremely angry after qualifying, where his lap were cancelled all the time, and that he qualified only 12th on the grid. And when he's second in the championship, he was absolutely angry, frustrated. I think he had a plan to just go straight forward and just take as many positions as he can at the first turn. He's braking, and I think this was one of the cases that led to the crash. Of course, counting in Maverick Vinales' really bad start, but this is something Maverick Vinales is known for a long time. So I need to say that I'm most surprised with the lack of penalty for the incident with Marini because of Fabio Quartararo's case, and also because of the fact that Martin, after the race, said that he expected a penalty for that incident with Marini. That's why he was pushing really hard to get in front of the other riders. And he was surprised that he didn't get a penalty for that one. So I think, I think he deserved a penalty for the Marini case, especially Fabio Quartararo, and in many cases in other races we got a penalty for something like that. For the first turn incident, well, we have to say that this was first turn on the first lap. Everyone was trying to squeeze in, but definitely Martin brake really late, and hard to judge, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would get a penalty for that. And I don't think that anyone out of the grid would be too bitter about that, besides Martin. But now it's hard to say. I think the stewards haven't decided on anything for Martin yet, because he's been to the stewards, as we've seen by the reporters who are now in Austria. But we don't have any announcement on his penalty for that one. And for the Marini action, there was no further investigation taking place. It was said during the race. So it's really hard to judge, but this is the proof that we have another day and another proof of MotoGP steward not being consistent, and that we don't know what's going in their head when they are making decisions. It's hard to say if Marc Marquez wouldn't get a penalty for something like that, especially now, because we also have to say that when Marc Marquez was in his prime, Stewart was a little bit different, I think. There was a lot of controversy still, but I think we had a harder racing than we have now, and then the stewards allowed us now sometimes. And I don't think there is much of sense in discussing if Marquez would get a penalty for something like that, and if he wouldn't get a penalty for something like that because Marquez hadn't done anything in that race. I think it's more important what we said about Fabio, that Fabio got a penalty in the same race for doing something exactly similar, and Martin didn't get one. This is more controversial, and this is more was just cutting our eyes, more than if wondering if Marquez, the great, aggressive rider, would get a penalty or wouldn't get a penalty for something like that. It is more disturbing that Fabio Quartararo got one for something similar, and then Martin didn't get one for something exactly similar in the span of few laps, in the same race, in the same circuit. This is more endearing, I think, that this case. So honestly, it's hard. We all know that MotoGP stewarding has been just awful this season, especially. I just saw Maddie Patterson tweeting that there is a joke going around in the paddock that Donald Trump would like his case to be revised by MotoGP stewards for his own success. So I think it says it all. And honestly, I do think that we need something going on. There's something going on with stewarding in MotoGP this season. And we need, I'm afraid that for the first thing we need is revising the stewards and what they're doing. Maybe they just need to have clear instructions, or maybe just have I don't know, their exact procedures, voting anything, because the fact that they give a penalty to a rider and they give it to another one for the similar action, almost the same action in the same race, is just making me wondering if someone needs glasses there, because this was the same race, this was the span of few laps. And more funny thing is that there was the Marini case and Martin case was even broadcasted live on TV, and Fabio we saw from the repeat. So I was like, we all saw that. And then we saw they had to tell us why Fabio got the penalty, and they didn't give a penalty to Martin at the same time, when we just clearly could see that it was a similar incident. So I do think that we need some kind of revolution in stewarding in MotoGP, because this is just awful. This is so inconsistent. This is also so unfair to many riders. Even those who, for example, do something and get a penalty, but then they see their colleague from the grid doing the same thing, and they're just going out from this clean, they don't have any consequences. Like Fabio could say, but he did the same thing as I did, and he didn't get any consequences. He got the podium and the points in the sprint, and I got a long lap penalty in a sprint when I was already 15th. And this was even a worst case scenario for me. So honestly, this is absolutely stewarding in MotoGP is absolute disaster right now.
Yeah, and I've said it many a time before as well. Sorry about that, everybody, for the system software was just going wrong, so I've swapped over. So, yeah, I've said it many times, especially this year as well. Freddie Spencer seems to have left his sanity behind with him during COVID as well. It's so bad now. And I completely agree with Julia's points as well. There's no consistency in the MotoGP paddock anymore. There's nobody going, okay, you get this penalty for this, and if it happens again, we've got reference. It's a different penalty every time. So Martin hitting the side of Marini, no penalty for what was a very late dive bomb. Quartararo does exactly the same thing in a different part of the track. You get a long lap penalty and you get told about it twice. It doesn't change. And it's just, Dorna, you know about my rants. Dorna are just stuck in the past. They are really stuck in the past. Their social media presence is nowhere. The way they handle the formula isn't working. The way they promote it's not working. The way they do the stewarding is not working. Dorna is broken and it's rotten at the core. It needs to be completely changed out. The championship is stuck. And the sprints I would say the sprints have worked. They've worked really well. It gives us a drama on a Saturday. Now we've got this right format for Friday finally figured out as well since the summer break. It's working. So that's fine. Racing, leave that alone. The stewarding, self-promotion, everything like that all needs to change from ground up. And it's not. So it's in a crossroads right now, what we're going to see. But I've said it before many times, and I know Julia and me have discussed it in the commentary box a number of times. Freddie Spencer must go. For the sake of the sport, he's got to go.